Joining me now is Texas Senator Ted Cruz. Senator, thanks for joining us tonight. Why weren't we able to track the billions and billions of dollars that we sent to Ukraine, which ended up obviously being in a stalemate?
Well, look, because the Biden administration didn't want to. They didn't care about tracking it. They were just shoveling cash out the door. And the irony is, Joe Biden caused this war in the first place. If Donald Trump had been in the Oval Office, there would be no war in Ukraine. And I'll tell you what the precipitating cause of this war was, is Biden waived the sanctions on Nord Stream 2, the pipeline from Russia to Germany, that I authored into law. I wrote those sanctions into law. Putin was building that pipeline, and Putin stopped building that pipeline literally the day President Trump signed my sanctions legislation into law. That had prevented the war, and when Biden came in, he waived those sanctions, and that led directly to the war in Ukraine. Biden's weakness got Ukraine and got America into this mess. Well,
today, the panoply of voices, the usual forever war crowd, saying Trump's a poodle of Putin, Trump's echoing Kremlin talking points. And your response?
Well, listen, President Trump campaigned very clearly last year, and it was clear he was going to end this war. And he's going to end this war, I think, in the first half of this year. Now, I hope he ends it in a way that is a clear and obvious loss for Putin. I think that's good for America. But Trump has no interest in just pouring billions and billions of dollars into this war forever. And I got to say, whoever is advising Zelensky, he's getting terrible advice because he's turning around and running to the European press and attacking President Trump. And you and I both know the president very well. It is hard to find a strategy that is more likely to produce the opposite of what Zelensky wants and what he's doing right now, which is just insulting Trump.
And Donald Trump just spoke about Ukraine. Senator, watch.
I love Ukraine, but Zelensky has done a terrible job. His country is shattered, and millions of people have unnecessarily died. And you can't bring a war to an end if you don't talk to both sides. You got to talk. They haven't been talking for 3 years. So we hope to see a ceasefire soon and to reestablish stability in Europe and the Middle East.
Well, he wants America to be in some way repaid for the money that we've blown over there. It's like $250 billion in the end. That's probably how much it'll be. And it might be through mineral rights. It might be through some energy deal where every country participates. Would that, in your mind, be giving too much to Vladimir Putin?
Oh, look, I think it would make an enormous amount of sense for America to be repaid. Ukraine has vast resources, and that makes a lot of sense. But we don't want, listen, Putin has been explicit. He says that he considers the greatest geopolitical disaster of the 20th century to be the dissolution of the Soviet Union. And he wants to reassemble the Soviet Union. It's not in America's interest for him to do that.
He has the economy the size of France, Senator.
Well, he does, but he also has a massive nuclear weapons arsenal, and he has delusions of grandeur.
Why is Europe not paying for their own defense, then? If this is an existential threat to Europe, why have the American taxpayers been on the hook for 80 years?
Okay, Laura, to be clear, we should have prevented this war, and I wrote the legislation that killed the Nord Stream pipeline that President Trump signed.
Right, but that's over. So now the question is, should America still be on the hook for defending Europe when Europe is apparently against free speech, doesn't believe in a Second Amendment, doesn't believe in any rights, has a massive refugee crisis, and apparently doesn't think Putin is a big enough threat to pay for its own defense?
Look, there's no doubt Europe should be contributing and contributing more, but Europe are also strong allies. And so I don't think the right lesson to take from this is that we should just run away from Europe.
And we can work with them, but should we be carrying the lion's share of the defense burden?
I agree that the Biden administration was happy just to write checks from the American taxpayers and not to have Europe carry a heavier load. That was a serious mistake. But the even bigger mistake was causing the war. Look, this war was caused by Joe Biden's weakness as commander-in-chief. And the biggest difference in the last month in terms of foreign policy is our enemies are terrified of Donald Trump. That is good when our enemies are afraid of the president. When they view him as weak and ineffective, which Biden was, it encourages the bad guys to be more aggressive.
We didn't even have time to get to the independent agencies that are all unconstitutional. But do you think that actually will be an issue that Trump will be able to win on?
Look, I hope so. I think it's great that he's asserting the president's authority over so-called independent agencies.
Yeah.
It is to tee up a Supreme Court case to overturn a case both you and I are familiar with, Humphrey's executor, that upheld the idea that part of the executive branch could be separate of the president. That's directly contrary to Article 2 of the Constitution. I'm glad President Trump is standing up and reasserting the president's power.
Everyone gets, continuing legal education credit for what Ted Cruz just said. Senator, great to see you as always. Thanks so much for coming in.